Good afternoon, restaurant fans and restaurant folks. This is Steve Barnes from the Times-Union, back with another edition of Table Hopping Live. Today we're talking with Art Riley from McGreivey's restaurant in Waterford. And moments ago, just before we were supposed to start, the chef dashed off camera because he had to return a sweater that a patron had left on what I assume was a patio chair. So the chef went running away. Talk about a full service operation. He is both the owner and the chef and the coat check, sweater check person. So welcome, Art.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Looks like you're outside. So tell us about your outdoor seating. What have you got for McGreivey's?
Well, we have a beautiful outdoor patio that has about, on typical, 75 or 80 seats. And we have a spacious parking lot that seats about 40 cars. So we're utilizing the space more this year than ever.
And you and I have chatted throughout the pandemic about various things, but you know what really got me to invite you today was I saw yesterday's Facebook post, and you said, you know, we're not just another pub with a pub menu. You make 4 soups daily. You're roasting bones for demi-glace. You hand cut steaks and you're hand breading your appetizers. This is not frozen stuff coming out of the freezer and prepackaged cryovac steaks. I mean, this is really a scratch kitchen for the pub. So tell us about your, and some of this, frankly, is probably better than it needs to be, given how desperate people are to eat out. But you're really dedicated to that. So tell us about that culinary approach. And I mean, you are a neighborhood, a community pub, but it's more than that. Tell us about it.
Well, you know, I'm a 1990 graduate of the Culinary Institute of America, and my family and I have been in this business since 2006. I joke that I've been shoveling the same sidewalk since 1976. So having the culinary arts as my passion, it's important to me that we do things that keep us on our toes, such as, you know, baking our own soda bread or cutting our own French fries or hand making the desserts. It gets us all involved and doing things that are important to us, and in return, hopefully, are being important to our guests.
You've been quite adaptive during the pandemic. You've tried different things. You've done a variety of things. You did really well with takeout. It seemed like you were, you know, always running out. You'd have 100 dinners for takeout early on when people were just doing takeout. And, you know, if you hadn't reserved by 3 o'clock, they were all gone. Tell us about early on and then how you've continued to adapt.
You know, adaptive is a good word for this whole business in general since 2006, where I wanted to be kind of a fine dining restaurant with roast duck and rack of lamb and tablecloths on the dining tables, and had to adapt to a business that, you know, started going lighter, didn't want to invest 2 hours in a meal period. So being adaptive is kind of normal procedure for me. So when we started with the family meals and doing some catering type things out of our kitchen, as well as, you know, our mobile unit on the sidewalk to try to generate some lunch business that hasn't been here since the pause. So yes, and hybrid concepts in the future are not off the table either. So adaptive is a good word, and you know, we're certainly that.
And tell us about your customer base. I mean, you're in Waterford. Are the majority of people from within 5 miles, or what sort of demographic are you seeing, and where are they from?
You know, on these days when I'm seeing the names on the dupes coming in for these family style meals, I recognize them on a nightly basis as being community members, you know, loyal, supportive guests for the last 12, 13 years. But, you know, in Waterford here, we're also a tourist town, and I'm also relying on, you know, previously 20 to 30 boaters a night coming in off the canal this time of year. You know, we're at the end of 787, easy for people at Albany. We're a quick shoot from long waits on Clifton Park and Half Moon, but primarily we are a community-based restaurant here in Waterford. And, you know, I'm a Fordian, and, you know, there's a concentration there. Yep.
Were some of the government requirements difficult to adapt to? And if so, which ones were the most challenging? Besides, of course, wearing a mask in a kitchen, because that's awful.
Well, you know, for this news to come down the weekend of St. Patrick's Day, to pause any kind of thought for government regulations stepping in, and our independent business was first seemed obtrusive and out of the blue, or extremist. So we've adapted, like you said, along the way, and I don't know how hard it is. It's frustrating, but reading the rules on the paper, it isn't that it isn't hard to follow. Say, hey, nobody can eat inside your restaurant. Okay. Where we have tables 6 foot apart, and maybe, diners that are 20 feet apart, we have to have tables somewhere. So there's some interpretation that, that's a little foggy, but for the most part, I think we know how the rules are supposed to be and how to follow them.
What are you sensing from your customers? Is there a willingness to be inside now, or is there still significant desire to be outside?
The outside is certainly driving the bus right now. We have our a lot of loyal and frequent guests. Some of them are going to the bar and enjoy that interaction, need that interaction, and I'm seeing it. But the inside of a restaurant on a Friday night is it's amazing to see it not full. And hopefully when the fall comes around and the weather isn't as nice as it is, they'll make the choice to still come on in. But we have 3 different dining spaces inside, and we're very seldom more than 50% capacity on your average day anyway.
What about staff? How many of them came back? I know what's your nickname for your kitchen gang?
We call them the misfits, and that's,
the misfits.
Right.
Did most of them? I think most of the misfits came back. What about the rest of the staff?
We made a decision to keep as many staff on as we could, in particular in the back of the house. It was always a conscious effort, thinking that it would be harder to get the people back if they were furloughed. Our front of the house is a lot of them are part-timers with real jobs, so they're willing to come back at a good rate, and the tips are there for them. So right now our staff is running at about 25 people, full staff. Our kitchen staff through the pause, our staff through the pause was about 9 or 10, as opposed to about 35 to 40.
Can you survive on this? I mean, it's not about making money. Restaurants are never about making money, but at this rate,
right?
Can you go along with that kind of staff and this rate of business?
No. We need that baby shower, bridal shower, rehearsal dinner, graduation party, backyard wedding, that extra business. It's not the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night business that's keeping the place afloat. It's the Friday and Saturday we're operating at less than 50%. So when you put in your mandatory minimum wages in your staff, and you say, hey, it's going to cost you $750 to run the kitchen today, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out how much food you got to sell to maintain that. And that's 7 days a week, 360 plus days a year. And no, it's not sustainable at this current rate.
Have you reached out to elected representatives to advocate for a government bailout? Is that something you believe in? That, if the airline industry,
no,
go ahead.
I'm a no bailout. Let the strong survive. The PPP money. I'm sorry, I think I cut you off.
Well, we lost you.
But I'm an anti-bailout guy.
No, okay.
So I'll say it one more time.
All right. So thinking about you mentioned a hybrid concept. So thinking about the future, people will sit outdoors, especially put heaters out there. People are going to want to sit outdoors until November. There'll be intrepid folks with jackets on and things. And so you can accommodate that. But at some point, they do need to come indoors. Have you thought about different plans for December through next March, and what might those be?
Just for instance, where we've relied on baby and bridal showers on weekends for brunch business, Brunch is something that I'll plan on rolling out in the fall because I don't have those committed 50 person plus for those days. So, we have to think about more about this family meal, which was successful early on. We'll have to, think about ways to keep busy, but Can Cook will serve people food for money. So that's how it's going to go.
All right. So tell us a few things on your menu that you're really proud of. You're like, if you're coming into McGreivey's for the first time, give us a couple things that you really are proud of, whether or not they're popular with customers. But what's a must-have on your menu?
But the things that our cornflake chicken tenders have been on the menu since one. So where every place says a chicken tender, I want to take the point to say I'm serving fresh chicken, hand breaded with a little something extra. Our buffalo chicken chowder won the Detroit Chowder Fest People's Choice 3 times. It's very popular. But I also like to say, hey, I'm serving rack of lamb right next to the Cajun jambalaya that I learned on my extern in New Orleans. And for a bunch of mix, we do risotto pretty darn well. So that would be an item that I would think, wow, that's something you don't find in a pub. Not to mention our soda bread is, I think that's, it's huge.
All right. Why don't you give everybody your days and hours and the street address and how to find you?
Okay. We're 7 days a week. We open weekdays at 11:30 and Sunday at 1 o'clock. We're open till 9 p.m. Nightly. And we're located right on the corner of 4th and Broad in the middle of the village of Waterford, 91 Broad Street. It's quick access from the end of 787 and right off of exit 8A off the Northway.
And give us your website.
It's McGreivey's.com. And
easy enough. McGreivey's, McGreivey's.com. We've been talking to the chef and owner, Art Riley, who's been really dedicated to keeping his staff employed and keeping people fed during the pandemic, the shutdown, and the gradual reopening. Thanks, Art. It was great to chat with you live, and I imagine you and I will continue our other conversations so you can help me stay informed from the restaurateur's perspective.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for taking it easy on me, too.
Yeah. All right. All right, folks. Thank you. That was Art Riley from McGreivey's, and this was another edition of Table Hopping Live. I'm Steve Barnes from the Times-Union. We will be back next Tuesday, 1 p.m. And until then, be well and eat well.